Hey, welcome to GRTA, GCP and Google Workspace Red Team Apprentice certification provided by HackTricks Training. During this certification, we are going to be starting from the very basics, explaining what are GCP projects, GCP organization, workspace users, workspace groups, how is related workspace and GCP and why this relation is so important. We will also be showing how to configure the gcloud CLI, which is the CLI tool to talk to GCP from the console. Very useful from an attacker's perspective and from a sysadmin perspective. We are also going to be explaining how to use the very most common services inside GCP and also how to attack them, so how to escalate privileges, perform post-exploitation attacks, abuse persistent mechanisms, and so on. But please notice that during this certification, we are not going to be showing real GCP vulnerabilities or 0 days, of course. We are going to be talking about how to abuse potential misconfigurations in GCP environments. The goal, of course, is that as an ethical hacker, you will learn this knowledge, and later, whenever you perform, for example, white box review over your client's GCP environments, you're going to be able to find all these issues and let them know so they can fix it. By the way, talking about white box assessments, we are going to be explaining during this certification also a methodology on how to perform this white box assessment. So how to ask the client to give yourself read-only access, which permissions you need to ask for, and all the steps that you need in order to discover all the misconfigured services that a client might have in their GCP environment, with focus on the services that we just talked about inside this certification. And finally, in the last section of GRTA, what you're going to be learning is how the GCP login works in order to understand better, how services create logs that can be used to detect attacks. Very interesting from an attacker's perspective to know how you can get detected. Very interesting from a blue team perspective in order to know how you can detect some attacks. However, let's explain a little bit more in detail what to expect from this certification. So let's start talking about what to expect of GRTE GCP Red Team Apprentice certification. You're going to be having access to more than 15 lessons. Each lesson is going to be a video with some slides that will help you understand all the concepts and demos shown during the lesson. And of course, we are also going to be giving you some links that you can access in order to continue learning about the topic of the specific lesson. You also will have access to more than 20 hands-on labs. These are going to be laboratories in your own GCP project, not shared with any other student, which basically means that you're going to be able to launch the laboratory wherever you want, play the laboratories, finish them, and because you're going to be having your own environment, you're not going to be bothered by other students or by other assets of other students. You can just focus on your laboratories. And finally, this certification doesn't have any exam. You don't need to pass an exam to become GRTA certified. You just need to complete all the laboratories. So at the moment that all the laboratories are complete of this certification, you are going to be granted the certificate, showing that you pass successfully this certification. So you might know that there is a different certification called GRTE, GCP Red Team Expert, which will be the expert version of this certification. Therefore, I would like to talk to you a little bit about the main differences between GRTA and GRTE. So GRTE, the expert version, is going to be longer than GRTA. It will have more than 25 lessons with more than 50 hands-on laboratories. So you're going to be learning more about other GCP services, how to attack them, how to escalate privileges, how to persist, and so on. And also you will be able to practice more attacks. Also, in the expert version, GRTE, you also need to pass an exam in order to get certified. While in this apprentice version, you only need to finish all the laboratories and then you will get your certificate. Also, it's important to notice that the GRTA is going to be a subset of the laboratories and of the lessons of the GRTE, of the expert version. Therefore, even if you are seeing in this video this GRTA logo during the videos, you are actually going to be seeing the GRTE videos. Please, it's not a problem. It's not some mistake. The reality is that GRTA is just a subset of the GRTE laboratories and lessons. So just expect that. Continue talking about You will learn all you need to understand how GCP works, different ways to access GCP projects, and get permission and how to configure the gcloud CLI. This is super important because during all the course we are going to be doing a lot of enumerations and attacks using the gcloud CLI. So it's important that after these lessons you also configure your own in your computer. You don't need previous GCP experience to take this course. The goal of this course is that you can start it without previous experience in gcloud or any other cloud. That's why we are going to be starting from the very basics. So once you know all the very basics of GCP and Workspace, you will be ready to pass to the section 2 of this certification, GCP Services Exploitation. During the course, you will learn how the most commonly used GCP services work. Moreover, you will learn how to enumerate and use and abuse them to escalate privileges, persist in the project, or perform other post-exploitation attacks. So during each lesson, during each video, you are going to be explaining how each service works, the components of them, how to enumerate it manually with gcloud, and we will also comment how to perform previous escalation attacks, post-exploitation attacks, persistent attacks, and so on. And you will even see me do at least one demo per service, showing you a little bit of the service and maybe some attack. Then you will be able to go to the laboratory section where you will be able to practice some of the attacks we just mentioned during the video. And we will also be giving you some extra links in order for you to learn more about how it's possible to attack the specific service of the specific lesson. And also these links will serve you as hints for the laboratories that you will be doing. So during a laboratory, you're not going to be completely alone. We will be helping you a little bit. And of course, if at some point you get stuck in some laboratory, you can always contact us in Discord in order to, let us help you continue with the laboratory. Moving forward, we reach the section 3 of this certification, which is called methodologies. So knowing the security basics of GCP and Workspace and with a deep understanding of the core GCP services, you will learn how to perform white box GCP pen tests. So how to audit GCP projects and organization with root access. So first of all, if you don't know what is a white box pen test over a cloud environment, what I mean with white box pen test is going to be a pen test where you are going to be having read-only access over the, in this case, GCP environment. So you will be able to download all the configuration from the cloud environments and find vulnerabilities, issues, and configurations which security could be improved. So you can report all this to the client. Moreover, during this lesson, you will learn all the permissions you need to ask the client in order to have this read access, and also all the steps you need to take in order to perform a proper and organized white box review. Moreover, we will be showing you which different tools you can use with different automatic tools you can use in order to get as much information as possible in a fast manner. Also, these tools will probably highlight you some low-hanging fruits, so some security issues that they find in order for you to report to the client. And I need to also mention you that this section is called methodologies because the expert version of this certification will be showing you also how to perform black box assessment, so red team assessment, and also how to pivot between GCP and Workspace. However, those topics are a little bit more complex for this apprentice certification. So during this section, you're only going to be finding the most and very basic pen test that you need to know how to perform, which is going to be this white box one. It's also the most common pen test that clients will be requesting. So lucky you will be learning how to perform this kind of assessments. And finally, in the fourth section of this certification, the last one, which is called Defense Bypasses, you will learn about the most basic GCP service for logging, which could be used to detect malicious behaviors. So during this lesson and during this section, you are going to be learning how the logging of GCP works, because this way is possible to later create alerts or other GCP services in order to detect malicious behaviors. This is very interesting from a blue team perspective, but this is also super interesting from an attacker's perspective, because you really need to know how logging works and which things get logs and which things don't create logs in order for you to be able to perform attacks without getting detected. So during this section, during this last section of the course, we are going to be talking about how logging works, how to access it, how to navigate it, and of course, you will be able to infer how to bypass it or how to try to be as stealth as possible, knowing how this logging is working. now and change a little bit the subject and talk about who should do this certification. So there are a lot of different profiles that should be very interested in doing this certification. For example, pen testers looking to learn more about cloud hacking, sysadmin and DevOps engineers who want to learn about practical cloud security, so how attackers actually behave when they are trying to compromise cloud environments, tech professionals that want in-depth knowledge about the dangers of the cloud, and of course people interested in doing GRTE who wants to experience the learning process from HackTricks Training before accessing the GRTE certification. And regarding the requirements for the course, we don't have any strong requirement. However, it is recommended to have some basic networking knowledge, some familiarity with Linux CLI like Bash. This is just because we are going to be using a lot the gcloud CLI, so some familiarity with the black terminal will be great. And also some basic cybersecurity or pen testing knowledge is encouraged. This is because during most part of the certification, we are going to be trying to think like an attacker in order to learn how offensive security will work in GCP environments. And if you don't work in cybersecurity or as a pen tester, it might be a little bit harder for you to get into this mindset. So just so you know, whenever you do this certification, just try to think like an attacker, because that's exactly what we are going to be doing, and that will allow you to understand better the attacks that we are going to be explaining. Finally, let's talk about how to buy the certification. You just need to go to training.hacktricks.xyz/courses/GRTA, register and buy a voucher for the course. Whenever you purchase this voucher, you are going to be receiving an email with the voucher, with a link to activate the voucher. You need to know that you can wait until whenever you're ready to start the course to log in the platform and redeem this voucher. You can wait up to a year, so you could buy the voucher today and maybe wait a couple of months until the time suits you to start this certification and then redeem it. The other thing that you need to know is that both the access to the course and the lapse times are going to be starting the moment you redeem the voucher. So just so you know, you can wait up to a year to start it, but the access to the course and the laboratory time are going to be starting the moment that you redeem this voucher. And finally, once you have redeemed it, just enjoy the process of learning GCP and workspace hacking. And of course, if you have already bought the course and this is the first video you are seeing of the certification, please be very welcome. You have a very fun journey ahead of you.